I think we avoided disaster with Bobby Witt Jr. Let's discuss on Fantasy Baseball Today Express. Welcome into FBT Express on Thursday, March 13th. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Scott White, and we got some big news on Wednesday. Bobby Witt Jr. left after getting hit by a pitch on his left forearm, and the fantasy community held their collective breaths as we waited to learn more. Jeff Passan tweeted that Bobby Witt did not suffer any broken bones. He also added that while the timetable for his return is unclear, Witt is expected to avoid a long absence, Scott. So that mostly sounds like good news. Maybe he misses a little bit of time here.
Yeah.
If you're drafting in the next couple of days without knowing, what are you doing with Bobby Witt Jr.?
Yeah, it's a little weird the way he put it, and the Royals official Twitter account tweeted X-rays are negative. He'll be reevaluated tomorrow. So I don't know that we're totally in the clear. He doesn't have a fracture, but what's the diagnosis? If it's just a forearm contusion, then that you wouldn't think his opening day status would be in doubt. And maybe it's not. Maybe Jeff Passan was just being extra careful. I don't know. It's a sigh of relief. If I'm drafting in the few hours before he's reevaluated and we find out more, I presume, I guess I'd take him behind both Ohtani and Judge just to be safe. I'd take Witt third. But I think it's probably going to be okay. And I don't know. I'm waiting to hear a little more, the final clearance, I guess. And if we get that, then I'm probably just going to go back to drafting Witt as normal.
Yeah, well, considering you drafted him first overall, Scott, in your TGFBI league, again, a collective sigh of relief there that it sounds like we avoided a disaster with Bobby.
For what it's worth, Witt himself tweeted thumbs up and prayer hands, and Vinny Pasquantino snapped a photo of him typing that with both his hands. So I don't know. He seems okay. We'll find out.
All right, Gunnar Henderson hit in the cage on Wednesday while also fielding ground balls. Both sessions went extremely well. According to his manager, Brandon Hyde, Henderson is still recovering from an intercostal strain. His ADP over the past week is 10.9, Scott, which is basically right in line with where we lowered Gunnar Henderson. So This sounds like it makes sense, right?
Yeah, I think he's progressing as hoped, as expected. I think I had him 6th or 7th before I'm moving him down with the news. I'm not inclined to move him up yet. Let's see him bat and know that there's not going to be any kind of setback. But yeah, I don't think there's major reason for concern here with Henderson.
All right, there's been some talk that A.J. Smith-Shawver is still in the mix for a Braves rotation spot. Scott, we know that you are plugged in on your Atlanta Braves, and he's looked pretty solid this spring. Both Grant Holmes and Ian Anderson are out of options. We assume that both of those guys were going to be in the rotation. How do you see this playing out for the Atlanta Braves?
Well, I still presume Grant Holmes is. He's looked good this spring. Ian Anderson, though, control has been a major issue. It's been an issue all along for him. I think it's the main reason he didn't get called up after coming back from Tommy John surgery last year. Just wasn't throwing enough strikes at AAA. 13 walks in 12 innings this spring as compared to only 6 strikeouts. So a more than 2-to-1 walk to strikeout ratio. Only allowed 4 hits. He's always been pretty good at hit prevention, but I don't know. I think because he's out of options, the Braves are going to try to carry him in some way, but they may go with someone else in that 5th spot. And A.J. Smith-Shawver has upside. I don't know that I'd be eager to draft him in a normal size league, but he'll be somebody to monitor if he does win that job.
All right, let's take a break. We'll be back right after this.
The NCAA Men's Basketball Championship Selection Show on CBS and streaming on Paramount Plus.
Welcome back in FBT Express, going over the latest news and headlines. Tyler Mahle was scratched from his start on Tuesday with forearm soreness, and then Cody Bradford was scratched on Wednesday with left elbow soreness. Mahle's MRI came back clean, hopes to pitch in a few days. Cody Bradford will be shut down from throwing for the next 4 to 5 days. Scott, Bradford is someone I know that you are in on. Are you looking to back off him a little bit here? And if either of those two misses time, Jack Leiter would most likely be in the rotation. Any interest in him?
Well, there's Kumar Rocker too, who I think might be a better bet. He's had a rough spring, but he threw 3 hitless innings on the backfield, so it's not applied to his stat line. Said he worked through some mechanical issues and feels like he's in a better spot. It's not over yet for Kumar Rocker, who I, in theory, like more than Leiter, but Leiter has upside too, sure. As for Cody Bradford, I think you have to back off of him. An elbow thing, yeah, shut down 4 or 5 days, but that means they'll reevaluate him afterward, not, he'll be right back to throwing afterward. So I think the likeliest scenario is an IL stint to open the season. MRI was clean, nothing structural. I don't think it's a long-term absence for Bradford, but considering he's already being drafted outside the top 300, unless it's with your very last pick as a presumed IL stash, you're probably going to want to go a different route on draft day, and maybe we'll check back on Bradford later in April.
The Dodgers optioned Ha-Seong Kim to the minors, so that means one of Andy Pages playing in center field or Miguel Rojas playing at second base is how the Dodgers are going to start the season. Obviously, for fantasy purposes, Scott, we're hoping it's Andy Pages who has regular playing time early in the season. That would move Tommy Edman over to second base.
He hasn't set the world on fire this spring, Pages. The strikeout rate seems okay. It's a tiny sample. I think Pages already earned his keep with his performance as a rookie. Like the Dodgers know who Andy Pages is at this point. I don't think he needs a huge spring. And I think he's being undervalued. If we don't know for sure he's the center fielder, but if he's an everyday player in that lineup, going into his sophomore season, presumably more comfortable, potentially living up to his potential even more, that is somebody who, in 5 outfield leagues especially, fill your last bench spot with Andy Pages. I think he's being undervalued in those 5 outfielder leagues.
Wanted to bring up some quick StatCast data from Wednesday. Something I noticed, Robert Suarez is having a rough spring. He is falling down draft boards right now. He's been a big faller this spring. He gave up 4 earned runs on a walk and 5 hits. Fastball and sinker velocity both down 2.5 miles per hour. Now, lots of relievers' velocities are down this time of year, Scott. It just worries me a little bit more because Robert Suarez is so fastball reliant. How worried are you here about Robert Suarez?
Honestly, if his stock tumbles to the point that he's going behind Trevor McGill, Jeff Hoffman, it probably means I'm more likely to draft Suarez. I think closers are impossible to evaluate in spring training. Like you said, all of their velocities are down. They just don't show up as ready to go. I presume as starters do, because they obviously work shorter stints. Yeah, I mean, Robert Suarez has a kind of finicky skill set that he'll rely on regaining that velocity, but I have no reason to think he won't regain it, is the thing. And so, not the safest closer in the world, but if the price is right, he is, he'll have to actually lose that job before his saves are in jeopardy. And so I think he's an okay pick if he keeps falling.
All right. For more extensive fantasy baseball coverage, listen to our full-length podcast, Fantasy Baseball Today, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Thanks for listening to Fantasy Baseball Today Express, and we will be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.